Welcome to this productivity video where we're going to be diving into what gets you in the zone, in that full focus productivity zone, what takes you out of that zone, and then also what has you be distracted, the cost of mental transition time, and the myth of multitasking. So for this section, you're going to want to make sure to have the in the zone versus out of the zone worksheet that you're going to be filling out as we go. So when you think about being in the zone, that productivity zone where you're fully focused, where you're able to laser in and have deep concentration and productivity, that's the zone that we're talking about. And it's been talked about in sports and athletics where somebody's in the zone, it's almost like time fades away. They get so much done, or they're able to hit that shot like Michael Jordan. That zone is so important for you to be able to cultivate. So what's the zone like for you? What's your time structure like? Do you have a lot of time when you're in the zone, or do you have a little time? Do you have a deadline, or do you work without a deadline? What's your motivation? That deep focus concentration, how does it feel when you're in it? These are the types of things that you're going to want to write down in the zone section. So go ahead and pause right now and start writing down these important items to help you get connected with what it takes for you to get in the zone. So then the next question is, what comes before the zone? Do you have everything that you need before you enter into a concentrated time period? Is it that you got enough sleep? Is it that you got enough food? Is there some kind of other experience that you have prior to going in the zone? Go ahead and fill out that section now. So now that you've explored what it's like to be in the zone, what comes before the zone, also explore what's the positive effect that happens in your life after the zone. What does it create? Does it create a momentum or a success, or does it put you in a good mood? Go ahead and explore that now and really reflect on it so that it can help pull your awareness to, you know what, the zone is actually where I want to spend more time. Go ahead and pause now and start to write down the effects in your life after having been in the zone. All right, so now let's explore out of the zone. When you're out of the zone, what is life like? You know, what do you feel like when you're maybe trying to work, or you're trying to concentrate or focus and you're not in the zone? You can feel like you're here, there, and everywhere. What's that experience like for you, and what contributes to it? Go ahead and write that down right now. Now we're going to explore what keeps you out of the zone. Is it distractions via maybe your computer, or is it distractions when people walk by, or the phone rings, or other things like that? What are the things for you that are the distractions that keep you out of the zone? Go ahead and pause right now and start to write those down for yourself. So now that you're reflecting on what it's like to be out of the zone, the distractions or whatever else that contributes to you being out of the zone, also write down the consequences in your life of being out of the zone. Go ahead and write those down now. Now, if you take a look on your sheet, you'll see that there's an arrow that swoops over to say, how do you go from being out of the zone to into the zone? What are your strategies in order to be able to do that? Go ahead and take a little bit of time now to start exploring what some of those might be. Now, if it's distractions, it might be, oh, I answer my email every 3 seconds. Maybe I'll group that together so that I'm not distracted, but rather I'll group them, or I call it batching similar tasks. You might also say, what do I need to do to protect myself from maybe people walking by or coming into the office, or You might start to look at how it is that you can create more in the zone time and less out of the zone time. Go ahead and start exploring that for yourself to customize it for you in your life. So in this next section, we're going to be tackling probably one of the biggest areas, which is distractions. Most people find that it's distractions that keep them out of being in the zone. And oftentimes distractions will pop up out of seemingly nowhere. And those distractions, it's important for you to be able to maintain focus so that you can stay in the zone and not find yourself wandering out of it. There's a surprising statistic that's important for you to know, which is that every 3 minutes, the average person is distracted. But it takes 11 minutes on average to refocus. Well, you don't have to be a math whiz to realize that if you're distracted every 3 minutes and it takes you 11 minutes to be able to refocus, that you're obviously not getting the most productivity that you can. In fact, you're getting distracted from your distraction and then distracted again from the previous distraction. What's that mean? It means that you end up at the end of the day feeling like you didn't get anything done and frustrated because you know that you wanted to get certain things accomplished. So on your worksheet, you'll notice that there are various types of distractions. And for these various types of distractions, it's important for you to know what yours are. For a lot of people, the visual distractions of somebody walking by, or the email notifications popping up, or the text message going off, or whatever, those little distractions will end up drawing their eye and having them lose their place. Although we don't really realize that that's what's happening, it takes us actually refocus time, I call it mental transition time, to be able to mentally transition back to whatever it is you're needing to focus on again. So various visual distractions. There's various audio kinds of distractions, sounds or people talking or the phone ringing or those various types of things that will distract you just for a second, but when they do, it takes you, again, mental transition time to get back and refocused. There's text messages, there's email notifications, there's all kinds of things that are the distractions that keep you out of the zone. So on your worksheet, go ahead and fill out the kinds of distractions for each category that are significant for you that keep you out of the zone. So those are the external distractions. But then let's talk about the internal distractions. Oftentimes when we have various things going on in our lives, we can get distracted by the memory of old conversations or certain emotions that we can't quite push out of our mind. It's those types of things also that are distractions. So in order for you to be able to be maximally productive in your life, you also need to have strategies to deal with the inner side of distraction, the emotions, the old conversations, or whatever it is that's preventing you from being able to fully focus. So go ahead and spend a few moments writing down what are the things that have you get out of the zone from the inside. Now it's time for our next section, which is mental transition time. Mental transition time is the time that it takes you to mentally focus or transition from one thing to another thing, that switching ability. Well, with a distraction, what happens is the distraction comes and then you lose your place and you have to get back down to the depth of concentration, not just what you're looking at, but the depth of concentration you had at the point when you were distracted. That mental transition time is a real cost. And whether you have your own business or whether it's you're doing it at home or whether you're at an office setting, that mental transition time is a cost to your life and to the business. So for you, you have to realize that that time is essential for you to minimize wasting. And what does that take? It takes deep periods of concentration where you have that depth of focus and you're blocking everything else out. And like I said, there's a study that's shown that on average, the average person gets distracted every 3 minutes and it takes 11 minutes to refocus. Now, 11 minutes to refocus is actually quite low for various fields. Some things actually take you 15 minutes up to an hour to refocus on to gain that depth of concentration that you need to move your life forward. Now it's time to explore our final section, which is around the myth of multitasking. Many people think that they can get lots of things done if only they do lots of things at the same time, thinking, oh, well, it's the same amount of time, I just get lots more done. Well, the myth of multitasking is that if the task requires any type of concentration, that mental switching between one thing to another thing actually slows down your productivity. And you might say, well, wait a second, what happens when I'm cooking dinner and I'm talking to somebody and I'm needing to write something down? That kind of multitasking. Well, that might not require the depth of concentration, so that might be an okay place to do it. However, when it's something that's important, that multitasking nature actually requires you to switch, which, like we were talking about in the last section, takes mental transition time. And that the more that you switch, it actually has a mental effect, a draining effect on your neurology and on how much mental energy you have. So if you end up at the end of the day exhausted, likely it's because you did too much switching. It actually takes a lot of brain power to be able to do that. So here's an interesting statistic. It's shown that your IQ goes down by 10 points when you switch, that mental transition time. And if you end up at the end of your day exhausted, it's because you did too much switching. Now, if your IQ goes down by 10 points when you're constantly switching throughout your day and you end up exhausted, think about the result of that. You don't have full brain power. Here's something to keep in mind by contrast. Your IQ only goes down by 5 points when you're high on marijuana. And some of you are thinking, what a great idea, I'll do more of that. No, that's not the point. CNN World quoted that switching makes you dumber than being high. So, think for yourself, would you want to approach your work and your day from that place? And if not, well, think about eliminating the switching that you do in your life and in your work. So one last thing to keep in mind. Another study showed that you're actually 40% less productive when you multitask. So with this information, what will you do? Will you eliminate the multitasking and instead group similar tasks together, like emails? Group those together, answer them all at once rather than having them distract you throughout the day. Or if there's other kinds of distractions, see if you can eliminate those so that you can have full concentration. And here's why. At the end of the day, the more time that you spend in the zone, the happier and more fulfilled you'll be, the more you'll get done, and the more you'll bring your innate wisdom and power and creativity to your work or to your day, and you'll end up feeling way better. So, if mental exhaustion and tiredness are a part of your life, think about spending more of your time in the zone and doing what it takes to get there. And one last thing. Bring your filled out worksheet to your next coaching session, and we're going to go through your answers and help you come up with specific strategies to be able to help you stay in the zone more often.